Some updates on esports, HTC, and of course, the BlizzCon groups were just announced today. But before we get to all of that, Artosis, welcome to the show. What's new with you, my friend?
Thanks. Not too much. Just having a good time. Struggling through lever queue, which I understand we're going to talk about later, so I'll leave that for then. But yeah, I'm doing good, man. Glad to finally be on your show.
Awesome. Chthon, welcome and Coughing so hard.
Son of a...
Hey, man.
How's it going?
What's new?
Oh, I just realized that I was actually in a Heroes game, but fortunately it was just an AI, so I'm not going to put in a lever queue like Artosis.
Oh.
Nailed it.
Awesome. Okay, Koobs, what's new with you?
Spent a good chunk of the weekend watching the HTC tournament. It was a good chunk of fun there. I know that Jared will probably be talking about that a little bit, shaking his head. Other than that, I went down to Atlantic City for work, and it's just not the same as Vegas. Not anywhere near. I was just like, the whole time I was like disappointed. It's like, what is this place? But yeah, oh well. Fun times, but more fun times going to be coming up ahead. BlizzCon just around the corner, so I'm excited for that.
Jared, what's new, buddy?
I cast the HTC League finals this last weekend, which was fun. Got to cast with Gillyweed, which I thought went really well. And there was actually a Reddit thread that kind of like said, "Hey, good casting." I was like, "Oh, cool." So that was really nice of the fans and stuff. Just preparing for BlizzCon, dealing with forfeit drama and other things that will be talked about later, which is nice. But it's cool. Finally get to have CauthonLuck on the show.
CauthonLuck!
I'm glad he's here, and we've been wanting Artosis on forever, so I'm really hyped about this episode, Jake.
It's going to be fun. Myself, I decided to go camping in Vermont this weekend. It was kind of cool, but it was really cold. We woke up to 17 degrees outside while we were camping on the ground, and that was a challenge. And I'm officially an old person because tomorrow I'm going to look at a house I'm looking to buy, and I'm looking at a wedding venue. So confirmed, I am now as old as it gets. But
so what does that make me half old? Like what?
Yeah, man. Old men of esports.
I considered myself an adult when I bought my first refrigerator.
That's the
when I had to buy a refrigerator, I was like, "Oh shit, that's it. My childhood's over."
Very, very good refrigerator life. All right, so let's open up the show with Artosis, because obviously you've been around esports for a long time. So originally a Brood War pro gamer, then obviously a long history with StarCraft 2, and then the original Hearthstone world champion. And
slipped that right at the
end. But now you've done quite a bit with Heroes of the Storm. You were involved at Vegas. Obviously, you've been casting for OGN, and I see you playing the game all the time on Battle.net.
Every day, man, all day long. It's a good game. I like it.
Is this your first MOBA? Do you have MOBA experience?
No, I tried League of Legends and Dota. I don't like those games. I've tried to watch League of Legends several times, and I find it just like it puts me to sleep. Basically, I find it like super boring. And then like Dota, I can like kind of watch, but I don't care to play it. So this was my actual first Dota. I had first MOBA. I think I had probably 45 minutes of MOBA experience before I started Heroes of the Storm. So
is it the game itself? Is it just like the way Heroes is played, or is it like just because it's Blizzard that you're drawn to it?
Well, when I started playing it, like the controls were super familiar coming from StarCraft. Like I had no problem microing right off the bat. As soon as I figured out what I was supposed to do, I could do it, and that was nice. And just kind of like the interface of the game was very simple to learn, and I liked the lack of things. Like I like the joint experience portion of it that always kind of turned me off to the other MOBAs. Where it's like, okay, well, if I want to be this guy, I guess I'm like level 5 and you're level 50, and like this is stupid. So I don't know, a lot of it, like it was kind of more noob friendly to start, I think, and I spend so much time with like StarCraft that it can be hard for me to like get into a new game completely.
Cool.
Like, items, game length, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's more maps. Like the fact that some of these pros are playing on the same map they've been playing on for how many years in League of Legends and stuff. I'm like, are you joking me? Like, thank God Blizzard rotates the maps all the time in StarCraft, or I would find the game boring. You know, I need that fresh experience.
Okay. Very cool. I've just adjusted my mic. Hopefully it's a little bit better for everyone and everyone else's levels are better. So obviously Heroes of the Storm came out in America initially, and it's been growing steadily in NA in Europe, and we've seen the growth. But we actually don't have a whole lot of insight as to what it looks like in Korea. What is the overall perception of Heroes as an esport and just a general game in Korea?
Well, it's way more popular than Dota, so that's good, I guess. You know, it doesn't really have that many people watching it or playing it, really. Like, this is a League of Legends country for sure.
Yeah.
Like, League of Legends, everyone I know, every Korean I know plays League of Legends. I have, like my hairdresser plays League of Legends, okay? Like, everyone knows the game and likes it and knows how to play it, so they're, like, a little bit hesitant to switch over. But it is crushing Dota. Dota's, like, there's, like, a very tiny hardcore scene of Dota out here, whereas the last I heard, which was probably at the end of September, is the last time I got an update, is that there's like an estimated like 20,000 players in Korea for Heroes of the Storm. So, the thing is, like, I play on the Korean server a little bit as well, and when I log on, like, you can tell that it's a much smaller player base just by the queue times. Like, even during prime time Korean hours for playing, the queue times are 2 to 3 times higher than prime time NA. So it takes a little bit longer, but I mean, it's still all right. Like, for the OGN tournament, one of the qualifiers was a PC Bong tournament, and I can't remember the exact number, but it's a shocking amount of teams signed up. Like, it was some huge. I don't want to say a number because I don't want to just like make something up, but I remember when I heard this number many months ago, it was like a huge amount of teams did try out for it, which the Murgle team ended up winning that tournament, but. So, I mean, a decent amount of people play, and the last I heard, again, towards the end of September, it was like it was pretty high in PC Bong standings, like maybe top 10-ish in games played in PC Bongs, but like 50% of all games in PC Bongs are League of Legends, so the percentage of people actually playing it is very low, even if it's like a top 10 game.
So that's interesting from the perception that there's relatively a smaller population of people playing it, but it feels like the production value that's being like sunk into it, and like, you know, prize pools and everything is super. It's up there, which is cool to see, and it's really been setting the standard too for a lot of stuff, especially the finals for that league.
Oh yeah,
is incredible.
Yeah, well, OGN is like the founders of esports overall. So, like, they are the actual original esports production company, and they're actually a TV station. So, they do a great job, and hopefully we're going to have more than just OGN making Heroes content next year. We don't know yet, but, you know, like, overall, a lot of the people in the industry, like non-players that are, like, kind of helping to drive esports in Korea, a lot of people are interested in Heroes and trying to get this game to kind of take root here a little bit.
Are you, worried about Heroes in Korea, especially with the recent news of China banning all Koreans from the GHL? I know a lot of the Korean like anytime Koreans got exposure, like almost half the time it was in Chinese tournaments, and if China starts banning out Korea, that's like literally half of your guys' tournaments like just gone.
I'm not really too worried about that. I think it needs to take root here. I think that that's really important. Something that we saw that actually kind of hurt Korean esports before is when, like, the MLG craze started back in StarCraft 2. Like, we had all these great tournaments in Korea, and then suddenly all the players that had built names from doing well started traveling. WCS started up, a bunch of them moved out of the country, and it kind of like hurt StarCraft a lot because it took all the best players and made them shitty by sending them elsewhere. So, yeah, I mean, I feel bad for them. I want them to be able to go and just win everything because they're so good, but I think it'll be all right as long as some other companies out here pick up more tournaments. Like, we can't have, for instance, only Super League in Korea. I think there needs to be at least 2 leagues, maybe a pro league, and of course, like, smaller community tournaments by Invent and stuff like that.
I know that's an issue that we've had over here, actually, in terms of, like you mentioned, the leagues and just having enough teams to fill those out and have consistent rosters within those teams. And, you know, anytime that you just have a team just disbanding like that in the middle of it, if it's one of those like premier 8 teams, that's a problem. I know there's even been some roster changes after Super League Finals stuff. Do you think there's enough consistency yet in terms of the teams and rosters, etc., to have that kind of sustainability for League? Not yet, or what do you think?
Well, here's the thing. It's like the way that Korean esports works is really different. Like a lot of the esports teams in the West are companies made to make money, whereas esports teams in Korea generally are like marketing budget that's spent. Like for instance, if you look at the StarCraft teams and the League of Legends teams, those are the biggest companies in Korea, and this is literally just marketing budget. They lose money on these teams.
Yeah.
In the form of marketing because they're on TV all the time and people love them. So it's like, okay, yeah, SKT1 wins everything. So people, the huge telecom company,
Right.
Spends that money to have these teams to get them to advertise for them. So if more stuff gets announced, if there's enough that's going to be viewed enough, everything will stabilize. And that's something we haven't seen in Hearthstone over here. Like, Hearthstone is stabilizing a little bit. Like, people are continuing to play it. I guess you don't need to spend as much time being a Hearthstone pro. But, if we see... Like, let's say that they announced 2 big leagues that were on all the time. And, like, a pro league type thing. All the big sponsors would probably just pick up Heroes teams and keep them together and use them for marketing. So, it's kind of on the leagues to make this happen more than... the companies themselves trying to keep teams together, because the pro gamers just have to do what they have to do to try to make a living.
Kind of jealous of that, to be honest. It's kind of nice to have that like almost work in reverse, right? And so, like you have the sustainability almost already there,
right?
And you just like need things to just kind of like take off in terms of popularity. And
it's going to be a long time before anywhere outside of Korea has that same kind of infrastructure. I mean, it's a different beast out there. So just we talked about like how many people play the game, but coming from StarCraft, how much of a crossover is there? We know there's quite a few StarCraft 2 pro gamers that have transitioned to Heroes. Is that like a common thing that you expect to see going? Is Legacy of the Void going to take away from that possibility? Like, what's that whole mess of titles look like in that ecosystem?
Like, you mean specifically in Korea, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so, well, obviously, like, Team DK that ended up winning was 4 StarCraft pros. So that's, like, pretty exciting. I don't know how many more are thinking about retiring from StarCraft 2 to go into Heroes. I think that everyone that's, like, high tier that was going to do it already did it. Because you got to remember that there's, like, a life expectancy on the pro gamer career in Korea because you have to go to the military for 2 years. And that is what ends careers. So... if you're going to switch games, you're probably more of an up-and-comer, like a B-teamer type of guy that's like, oh, yeah, this guy, wasn't he on KT but never played a Pro League game or something like that, and then that guy might switch over. But as far as, like, top-tier guys, I don't really expect anymore. Like, we have some champions and stuff that already had done it, but for anyone else to jump in right now, it seems like they're a little bit late to the party, and it's like, well... I think that you'll do fine just staying in StarCraft 2. It seems like StarCraft 2 is going to be stable next year as well. You're going to be able to make your salary and make money if you do well, and just follow your career out until you decide to go to the military.
Cool. Well, any other questions, guys? Rory, do you have any questions?
Mechanically, though, I know that we've seen a lot of people in just the pros from the NA scene have switched over really well from StarCraft. Do you feel like you even mentioned that when you were saying that you hopped over? You feel like the mechanically it's close enough, and why we don't see League of Legends, or maybe we just don't know about it? People coming over from that game as well.
Well, I think that like some of the like B tier guys should be switching over, and I think we're gonna see a lot of that. Like any Dota guys might switch over because Dota is so small out here, and obviously they're fantastic mobile players. And I would say like if I was a Korean League of Legends like semi-pro or something like that, like someone good but not quite on the teams that can do it, I would absolutely be switching over to Heroes as soon as I would hear about multiple Heroes leagues, because obviously they're going to do very well. They have that type of experience in a team game and whatnot. And like, this is something they could go to the top of, and being at the top of this is going to be better than being, halfway down in League of Legends or something like that, where the money just doesn't filter that far.
I agree with that. Not everybody that switched from a professional MOBA background has had success, but we do have some examples. take Arthalon and K1 Pro are some of the like most widely respected players in the American hot scene, and they both came from a league background.
I thought K1 was Dota.
I think he is Dota.
Might have been. I mean, points.
Same thing.
Yeah,
Same
yeah.
thing.
Same thing though.
Yeah, I didn't even know there were 2 different games.
Nailed it.
All right, Cauthon. I'm never getting
Cauthon.
Cauthon? I was close.
Cthulhu?
Cauthon. Obviously, you guys had some great games at Vegas, and you guys just placed second in HTC, so Murlocs is looking strong. But overall, like, what's the current state of the team?
We're solid. We've always been pretty solid. I know recently we've been putting up some pretty good results, so I think our public perception is higher than it's normally been. But I think we're kind of where we've always been. We're just starting to get more versatile to the point where we'd often lose games in tournament settings due to people knowing how to ban against us, and we would get in trouble in the draft. And I think recently we've expanded our hero pools. I know me personally, I had a few weeks off of work, and so I expanded my pool to include tanks and bruisers as well as ranged and specialists and all that. And we've been a lot more versatile in our drafts recently, so I think that's helped us a lot.
Yeah, there was a game this weekend where you guys ran double warrior melee assassin. It was like, oh, I guess Cauthon's going to be on warrior this game, and that happened. So you guys definitely have been improving. And like you said, you've always been consistent. But there definitely was a phase from WCA to about, I guess, almost August qualifier, where you guys you performed well, like in scrims, but you never performed well in tournaments. And it's starting to seem like you guys are past that. Did you guys have a period of time where you just like where you felt you were tilted in tournaments or just had tournament nerves issues?
Yeah, that's actually a great point, because right now we're kind of the opposite of that, and I think it might go back to what we were doing in scrims back then was not really the best way to improve. I think we were, I don't want to say showing too much, but we were being too one-dimensional in scrims, and where we were always using the same style of play without a big enough hero pool to back it up. So we would do well in scrims, but then people would develop strategies against us in tournaments, and we would have trouble. There was also the nerves thing for sure. Like when we went to the first big LAN event, we had 3 people who had never been on a pro stage before. So certainly the first series, there were some nerve issues, and I think now that we've gotten past that, that's probably helped us a lot. And recently we've actually getting bodied in some of these scrims, but we're trying to branch out a lot more, and I think this help us perform better in tournaments, which, like you said, is kind of the opposite of the problem we used to have.
You're also one of the few teams in North America that have a coach. How much do you think that helps? Tsukima doesn't really have a professional background in Heroes, but he's just like an extra set of eyes. How can you just talk us through bringing him on as a coach and what he actually does?
I love having a coach because personally, coming from an RTS background, I tend to nitpick way too much on things we do wrong and how we can improve. And I'm a little bit new to the team dynamic, but as I came to understand, it's not always the best thing to bring up every little mistake that your team or yourself is making, because confidence is a big issue in MOBAs. And you want people to feel good about their play, their shot calling, their confidence. And I think having a coach really gives you an outsider perspective, where you're not getting just one person's view on what's wrong with the engage. You're getting somebody who can look at it unbiased and tell you, hey, this is what needs to change. And so you don't have that built-up trouble between teammates who think that, oh, maybe it's this person that's always messing up. You can really get that perspective and work on changing it.
Okay. So another question about just the team in general. You're one of the teams that has seen a lot of success, but you don't currently have a brand name sponsor. Obviously, Zevron, there's a lot of drama there. Zevron no longer exists as an organization. What is it like, trying to attain a sponsor when you've already proven yourself, so many times, and you guys still don't have a brand behind you?
I think at this point, we're used to it. I mean, it's not like we need a sponsor to want to do well. We want to, we've got the motivation ourselves. We love the game. Recently, we found out that we really do have a great fan base, and that's made us want to perform better too, to live up to their expectations. As for the sponsor thing, there's really just not that much interest right now until after BlizzCon. I think everybody's kind of holding still on the new changes and the announcements for next year. And we've got, I mean, honestly, we've got a ton of offers. It's just that most of them are things that would lock us into a long-term deal with very vague promises of like future improvements, where it's not really something we want to get into again after Zevron. Like, if we're going with a sponsor, it's someone that's really straight up, tells us at the beginning what we're getting and when, and both sides just know what they're getting into before anything is signed. So we're just waiting for the right one to come along. We're in no hurry to accept any offer that both sides aren't thrilled with.
Yeah, that's a good point that you brought up too, about not really knowing what's going to be happening next year. Nobody at this point knows what Blizzard's plan is for competitive scene next year. How many events are we going to have? What's the prize pooling going to look like? And that's just from Blizzard's perspective, not including the growth of the game as well. So there's a lot of things that a company trying to jump into the scene to sponsor a team has to like sort of weigh out. And like Dan was saying, over here, it's, you know, it's very profit driven. Like, things need to show some kind of return on investment. And like, not having any answers to those types of questions does make it difficult. And I think probably a big reason why you guys haven't picked up a sponsor like that yet. So hopefully, with some luck soon, after BlizzCon perhaps, when we know more information.
Oh yeah,
something for you guys.
The game's going places.
Yeah,
the team's not going anywhere, so it'll work out.
It's good to hear. All right, let's get into the juicy stuff. Let's get into Artanis. I think that's a topic that a lot of people are very excited about. He's the newest warrior, as he's classified, but he's very much a bruiser in the way he handles, based on, I think, what most of us would agree on. First impressions, Dan, you've played him, I assume?
Yeah, I played him some. Yeah, he definitely is like a bruiser for sure. I like main tanks and stuff, and I had a lot of people in the Hero League and whatnot trying to be like, oh no, he's a tank. No, he's absolutely not. There's no way. Like, I find him hard to use just because I'm bad with bruisers and stuff, but he seems pretty good. When I saw players that actually got to use him, he seemed pretty sick, and I think he can solo just about everything. Like, if it's just a one-on-one, it seems that way to me, at least.
Given that the positioning there, because he doesn't really have a lot of crowd control.
Yeah.
Something that's been pointed out quite a few times is like, his biggest weakness. So I've noticed a lot that he definitely needs some kind of peel, some kind of CC, especially if you're going to go for that really heavy bruiser auto attack damage style.
I mean, he's fun. I really like his kit overall. I'm just quickly taking a look at the Tempo Storm talent calculator because we already have Artanis up on the website. Let me just look at this real quick. See some things. So Artanis is really fun.
Storm hat, you are the best.
Wow, you needed to look at the talent calculator to tell us he's fun. A+, Jared.
Nailed it. He's really. I'm surprised because Dan brought it up earlier. There's actually a lot of Artanises in like quick match, like in Hero League and quick match. Like, I'm surprised how many people have access to him. I thought it would be like, I'm like one of
it's dead game, right? You had to why would you even do that? But
exactly, yeah. I just there's a lot of Artanis players, and he's really cool. There's a lot of cute things you can do with his kit. He's got a very unique play style. There's a Sylal was talking about last week. Like, if you go to the Abathur Mines with slow, and then you put the suppression pulse on them, like, they're not gonna get away from it. They're gonna die. Like, it's just fun little stuff like that that makes this kit really, really cool. And like the fact that both of his ultimates
that was totally Sylal's build, not my build, huh?
Yeah, that was Sylal that brought it up. Don't steal credit from him.
That's messed up, man.
Yo, a 4-second blind is insane.
It's so good. They're both of his heroics are incredibly viable from what I've seen. Chthon?
Yeah.
Chthon?
God. Cauthon. God. It's not hard, Jake.
Sometimes you sit on a pronunciation that you've said 1,000 times in casts, and you're used to it.
No
and then
excuse.
he sets out to go fix it.
No,
cast like a champion.
Thanks,
so, oh man, Artanis. There is a lot to say about Artanis. We'll start for just the basic overview. I mean, we've already got some cheese strats worked out for him, of course, because we're Murloc geniuses. But I think overall, he is incredibly booty before 10, like just amazingly weak and useless and garbage in team fights. I would compare him loosely to how Kael'thas was when he first came out, to where if you choose Artanis, you're basically sacrificing your team's power in the early game for a payoff later, because his scaling, the later the game goes, is pretty insane. Like, it's not Kael'thas level, but when he hits that 16 and 20, especially 20, he gets nuts, man. Like, if you haven't seen that level 20 laser yet, oh, you are in for a treat. Don't be an Abathur against the level 20 laser is my advice to you.
That's true. I didn't think about that. You just retargeted back to the fight. Yeah, that's cool. I'm surprised to hear that's the big one and not the shield. At least from my playing around, having that. I don't know. There's so many different ways to build them too, but I was thinking like the triple auto to quickly reset the shield too for the sustain. Hopefully, there's a lot of different ways to build them. And as Jake was saying too, it feels like both the heroics are very viable. So I'm excited, but I'll be honest. It feels like every hero that's come out, I've like looked at the kit, just from like a baseline, played it loosely for a couple of games, and like, wow, there's so much potential. Johanna felt this way. As soon as she came out, I was like, there's like 1,000 ways to build. You can go damage style, you can go all this, and then after a week of watching competitive play, it's just like, nah, there's this one thing that really just stands alone as a better. I hope that's not the case. I always hope that's the case for any of the heroes coming out, but I got a feeling that like the super sustain style.
I think he's gonna have two builds. I think he's gonna have the super sustain and then more of a bursty paired with like Sonya style, kind of more akin to Sonya with follow through and the triple strike. If you pair those together alone with Zealot Charge, you can just shred someone. Like when you dash forward, you just do so much damage. You flip them around, then you're gonna have your W ready again, and it's so much damage output. So we'll see. But I definitely think the sustain style is pretty dumb.
How much have you guys gotten to scrim at all? Did you scrim last night with him? Is that or are you guys just developing strategies first about what you might look to?
Murlocs, dude. Yeah, we did scrim with him.
Okay, cool.
I mean, it's a new hero. We're Murlocs, of course.
Yeah.
Of course,
all right. We jump on the new stuff fast, man.
That's true.
Obviously, we're not practicing him because banned from BlizzCon. So.
Oh, is he banned from BlizzCon?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because pre-week's less than 2 weeks away.
Well, actually, his official launch date isn't till next Tuesday, and pre-week is the day after. Yeah. So that would be pretty insane to make him
That's weak.
allowed.
I don't like that. I think they should allow him. Can argue to me why he shouldn't be allowed?
Because I don't want our tanks or our flexes spending $40 for a game they don't want to play just to play Artanis. I'm sorry, Artosis.
Cool,
what? I've seen how much money Raynad makes streaming. You guys can get some fucking Legacy of the Void. What? Come on, that is not a valid reason, the $40. In fact, you know what? I bet you if that was actually a problem for one of these teams, they could call Blizzard and Blizzard would just unlock the hero for him because it's free for them. I don't think that there's a good reason to not have him at BlizzCon. I'm sorry. I think that's a poor call.
Huh. That's like, I mean, it's pretty similar. I mean, Cauthon. It did it! Cauthon! Yes!
At a kid.
Yes!
Next time, say it without stopping, though.
CauthonLuck, as a former pro StarCraft player and now a pro Heroes player, doesn't that sound pretty similar to like adding a new map like 3 days prior to a tournament? It's like, hey, learn some sick builds on this map. Good luck.
Yeah, it'd be awful.
Well, the map is different, right? Because some of the maps actually are completely fucking broken and terrible, like Thermal Shrines when it came out. But like with a hero, if the hero is overpowered, I guess he just starts getting banned, right? And we see more Uther play. It's like that's
so World Championship StarCraft is tomorrow. I'm gonna put the Warhound in the game right now. Let's go.
Oh, that is completely different. That's a unit for one race, and there's no bans. I wish I could ban. I'm like, okay, you can't use infestors. All right, sick.
That would be fun.
Let's do a ban on units before we play StarCraft 2. See, it's completely different. You have a ban system in place in Heroes. If he's broken, then you do that. If he happens to have a bug, like when Sylvanas had that silly spam thing to get her heroic out every 10 seconds, okay, then you're like, oh shit, there's actually something wrong. Let's ban it. But to just be like, well, I mean, you only have 2 weeks to practice for this. And like in Hearthstone, they just fucked up Grim Patron a lot, right? And everyone that is going to BlizzCon qualified off that deck. But it's good for the game to do that anyways. And why wouldn't it be good? It would be more exciting to watch if there was Artanis running around BlizzCon, I think.
I'll tell you the exact reason he's banned is because the same situation happened with Rexar, where going into the Americas regionals, teams scrimmed and practiced against Rexar, and we'll say maybe, a few seconds before some games, all of a sudden we find out, oh, hey, by the way, this hero's banned.
They unbanned him, though.
Then
because we threw a giant fit. there was an uproar in that player area.
And so he got unbanned, and then we sucked with him, so whatever. But, like...
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. But they definitely wanted to avoid the situation of teams practicing him and then there being an exploit or some bug that required him to be banned, discovered, and undoing all that practice. Because
I realize that the potential is there, and it's more likely on a newer hero, but that could happen to any hero.
Yeah, that is true. The Sylvanas thing, like nothing new happened to her, and it was figured out just randomly that she could do that, right? And that, I mean, that was a popular hero still at the time, so that kind of fucked up that tournament a little bit. So,
should just go into every tournament with all heroes banned.
even now,
balance the game correctly.
There's a bug with Artanis with Zealot Charge. It resets his W, so you just go in there, WW, just dead, GG. So,
yeah, that's a pretty huge bug.
Yeah, makes him pretty fun and OP to play. What else about him? Yeah, so obviously a bruiser, some strong tanking capabilities, weak to things like burst. I think Muradin probably be a decent counter against him just because reverberation. Beyond that, though, he seems like he's going to be a pretty strong early game pick. Do you guys think he's going to be...
Cauthon just got done arguing against that. Cauthon said he's weak until 10.
Sorry. Not early game pick.
Off his camera.
Not early game, early in the draft. Early draft pick.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I said pick.
Good save, Jake.
I think I don't know if that's 100% true yet. I feel he's, at least from what I've seen, more like an Illidan, where he fits in the very specific comp. So only if you're like aiming to run that kind of comp, he'll get picked. I don't think he'll be like a highly contested, first round pick or even like pre-bans. Like if you pick Artanis, it's because you're, you have a strat for him, like with Illidan and stuff. I don't think he's just going to be like he shows up, in most drafts just because he's Artanis.
I agree with Jared completely. Despite the fact that Jake and I are now besties because he's working so hard to pronounce my name.
CauthonLuck.
Your comparison to Illidan was pretty apt. The one I was thinking of was Butcher, where he's not going to be picked frequently. He's going to be a niche pick, but he's not going to be weak. He's going to be very strong with the right setup. It's going to be very situational. I don't think you can throw him into comps just as a standard bruiser the way you can with heroes like Sonya and Arthas. And there's some stuff about him that is really, really bad and needs to be addressed.
Like?
Okay, so everybody knows that his Q is booty. Like, he absolutely needs to have a talent on 4 or 7 that gives him some outplay ability with his Q. Either some sort of wormhole mechanic or the ability to just cancel it at any point so you have mobility. That's like step 1. He needs that. Step 2 is the saddest thing in the world, where his range and ability to stick onto targets are so bad that he can actually be auto-attack kited by other melee heroes.
That's awesome.
He has literally half the range of a Kerrigan and Arthas on his auto-attacks. With a Arthas, with any sort of slow or immobilization before he has his speed boost or his other talents that let him get in, you can just run around and auto attack him while pulling back and kite him with a different melee. Like it's sad. It's really sad.
What's really fucked up about that is that Protosses not only have longer arms than humans, but they have side blades coming out. So how could that even happen, Blizzard?
I knew we brought Artosis on.
I know my StarCraft guys. It's no problem.
Yeah, that's why you have a pylon next to your name.
I saw that. Thank you so much for that.
So I did not notice that. Wow. Well done. Well done.
All right, so we're in a situation where this hero is going to get picked up, assuming that he needs a lot of support in his composition. I don't necessarily mean like literally a support, but like some kind of stun to go with it. And then that kind of begs the question: why wouldn't you just run Sonya, with the exception of situations where she's banned out? But
she's permabanned?
You know, you would say that, but I watched some games this weekend where she wasn't even.
Murlocs didn't ban Sonya, and something happened. What happened?
All right, we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a little bit.
that.
Anyway.
I don't
So
remember.
situations. Where do you feel Artanis is stronger than Sonya would be in any given composition?
A composition, basically the only time that would be the case, if it's in a composition where the global ultimate you can really make it the focus of your comp in some sort of global gank strategy or like a really split push gank style. Or if you really, really need... I mean, obviously the blind is amazing against... If you're up against like a Butcher Rainer comp, I don't know why anyone would run that. But if you were, like, you could counterpick him with a late pick and take the blind, and you're Gucci.
Yeah.
So he's going to be very... Like, he's not going to just be better than Sonya or those other top-tier bruisers just thrown into a vacuum. He's got to be very... He's got to have a very specific reason to be picked, because the weaknesses we went over are very, very real.
I like it.
Okay.
Makes sense.
You think he's absolutely has to be played with other stuns? Here, like whether it just be Gravity Lapse, Toronto with Lunar Flare or something, or is he worthless without like a follow up to his E, or at least a setup for his E?
I don't know if you necessarily need to have him as like the CC initiator with the E. He definitely needs control though. Not so much a ton of stuns, but there needs to be like solid slows and stuns in general, or he'll just never hit anybody until level 16. Like the talent at 16, it's bugged right now, but it's almost like
Where
it's
it needs
almost
to
a
be.
no-brainer that you have to
Yeah.
take it, because
Got the charge.
he can't stay on anybody until that, unless you have a team that can completely lock down the enemy to the point where he can actually stay on them. But at that point, like if they're totally locked down, wouldn't you rather just have more burst damage anyway? I don't know. Yeah, he needs a lot of help. I will mention though that Medic just got some buffs. Stim drone, maybe a little faster.
It's actually our next topic. So we'll get there soon. Any final thoughts on Artanis wish list or like predictions? As I hope we played.
We saw what the quality of life changes Sonya did for her. Just like something simple as being able to auto easier. You know, things like that would be really helpful, because his kit's fun, but it's clunky and hard to do certain things at certain times just because it's just so slow. So just like a quality of life change, like you don't have to like rework every hero because they're bad. Just, you know, tweaks to just how he autos or anything would be really nice.
Yeah, I'll say that. And even when they first announced the hero and I was kind of looking over his kit, I just did not like his Q, the dash ability. It just feels very out of place, the way it looks, the polish on it, it's just not there. And we were even kind of hoping maybe when the hero is released into the live patch, it'll be
It feels
different.
better than the PTR. It definitely is more polished.
Maybe, but it's still kind of like
he
it
like
feels
spins
really
around
out
like
of
a
place.
ballerina, flailing his blades around.
I'm more talking about its place, like in the hero's kit, and it feels a little.
Oh, I
off.
see. In terms of the utility that exists
yeah.
behind it.
I have to agree with what like CauthonLuck was saying earlier about it. Like if it had some sort of ability where you could like cancel the Q or something. Because when I was playing him personally, because I like tanks and stuff, he doesn't really have any sort of like escape or maneuverability to him, and that's where I had like a really hard time with him. Like especially my first games, just being fucking bad. Like it was funny because I'd be like, oh shit, they're after me. I use my Q and I like run away and then I come right back, and it's like, well, I was gonna die anyway. I guess that's okay. But
what you got to do is you got to be running
weird.
away from a Johanna and dash into her condemn, so you don't go through again. Then you're good. Or you get friendly hook on Stitches so that you can
Helping hand, friendly hook. What?
What if you could cast your E in the middle of a Q? Would that make him worthwhile? Like if you could like dash forward, throw your E, and bring him way back here.
I mean,
Sounds like a great talent idea.
Yeah, that cannot be default kit, Jake. That is basically a hook at that point.
That sounds pretty esports, though, right?
That's very esports. The esports as it gets, I guess.
Look how beautiful
So
he is, though.
yeah, that's what I thought. I just other than the queue, I've been having a lot of fun playing him. I think he's a fun hero, but almost impossible to see if he's going to have some kind of weird place other than just throwing him into like a Sonya-esque situation. I'd say overall probably does just feel like a weaker version of Sonya.
Yeah, I think just the blind ult I think brings you like an awesome utility to him.
Perhaps the heroics will make the difference, but otherwise the kit, so it's pretty baseline.
Heroics are great. I'm actually really curious if his auto attack range was an oversight or Blizzard really intended for him to be like that weak in that department. It's really half the auto attack range of other melees. Like that just it doesn't seem right.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially when his model is like larger than any of the other models in the game. He dwarfs Sonya. Like he is just absolutely huge. So
it's the Tyrannosaurus effect. Like you got the big body, little arms. You can't really do anything with it.
Okay. Well, moving over. Again, this is all. I guess the final topic is the fact that Artanis is a pre-release. There's been a lot of negative feedback on Twitter and Reddit about the fact that they're willing to put out a hero a week early for people purchasing a game. Any hard opinions on this one way or another?
People need to not be bitches. It's fine. It's just like a week. It's a week. It doesn't affect competitive. Like any tournament's going to have it banned until it's public, right? Like there's no one that's going to be like, we're having a tournament, and if you happen to pre-order this game, you can play it. Like yeah. Like no one's going to do that. I don't know. Like we talked about it before. This game is going to thrive off its cross promotion from other games, and if this can bring in StarCraft fans, I'm all for it. Like it's a week, guys.
Yeah, and if you're not ordering Legacy of the Void, you probably don't even deserve to play video games. So
cross promotion.
Agreed again.
I mean, guys, StarCraft, come on.
All right.
The future.
Morales has seen
Morales.
Lieutenant Morales.
I don't know. You just pronounce everything weird today.
She's seen some changes. Her health has been increased from 700 to plus 110 per level to 840 to plus 130 per level. This is a substantial increase in her health and now survivability, and then her base health regen up as well.
So that's nice.
It's not enough.
That's my thought. Like, she still has problems with her kit. She's still a bad laner. She's still, where you think she would be paired, at least in terms of like the Stimdrome, she needs to be close to those targets, at least to cast. Like she still stalls while she casts her heroics. I don't know. At least in terms of like trying to pair her up with melee assassins, it feels like it's still going to be difficult. And having a bit more health is nice. I'm not sure that it solves those innate problems that she has.
Until you can do whatever you want to her, change like the range on her heal. You can do like so many things. Until she can heal herself, she is way too hard to.
Jared, learn the lore. That's never going to happen.
Well, that's fine, but don't expect her too often.
Yeah, but no one ever left their base with one medic, right? Like you always had multiple medics, so they would just heal each other.
Get your lore in check, Jake.
Jesus,
my
Jake,
lore's in check. So do we just make her a medevac and add an SCV hero? Like, how do we fix this?
I don't think that this buff was for pros. Like, it doesn't seem that way to me. It seems like this buff was for everyone else that spent $9.99 buying this hero that just plays it and is like, what the fuck? I die in 2 seconds. And I think that's what this was for, because obviously the casuals that are sitting around playing, quick match all day with their friends and stuff don't want their hero they just spent $9.99 on dying in 2 seconds. So, I mean, it's a good buff in that way. It's just, are we going to see this hero picked at BlizzCon? I don't know. I don't think so. Not much, at least.
Agreed.
Cauthon?
Oh!
Got it.
He did it.
Wow. Okay, all right. I'm going to reward you with some real talk for that, then. So, some exceptionally baller teams actually tried to run Medic in the finals of a recent tournament. And, I wouldn't say it had the best results.
Really? Yeah, I agree with that almost.
I
Were there any
think that
wins with that, or
I think that our life expectancy for the medic was definitely under 2 seconds in every team fight there. There was a butcher with a D shield charging towards her at the start of every fight, and I think the only way that medic was going to live more than 1 second, regardless of what we did, is if their entire team disconnected, and then the bots, like, I think the bots could probably have still killed medic in that situation. And so we had a little talk after that, and we were like, okay, maybe no more medic. And I was like, okay, sweet, we can stop playing medic because that was awful. But then they buff her, and now I'm so torn because I know we're gonna be trying her.
Timmy's
It's
all
just
over
Matt
that.
Timmy sitting there like, please guys, come on, just one game.
I agree with Jared where I think as long as, like, she can't heal anybody in team fights, even if she has more health. She can toss her W, throw a grenade, and then the whole team piles on her, so it doesn't matter if she can heal because she can't stay still healing people. I think there's very, very specific situations on small maps with certain team comps that can protect the flank, and you're not against a butcher with Divine Shield, where you could actually get some pretty big value out of Stim with a marksman stacked Rainer or something like that. I think she is pretty bad and has to have very, very specific comps to make her valuable at all. But I'm not a support player, so I'm just the guy that tries to protect her, and I can never do it.
It's tough, man. It is not easy.
Does you guys are gonna hate me for this? Does Artanis help her at all? The fact that Artanis can throw his E and peel someone away, is that at all beneficial?
what? What?
You just tilted the whole cast, like.
So,
Thanks, Jake.
so you're talking about saving medic, but you're gonna lead with the E, not the 4-second blind.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is
Nailed it.
fantastic. I love it. Yeah, no. I think that this is what I think we'll probably see at BlizzCon is the second ban phase. If the other team took medic, you ban out Artanis so that he doesn't have that E to peel for the medic. That's some quality strats right there.
The 4-second blind is long enough to where medic can get the medevac down, get in it, and leave the fight. Like, viable for their team.
Oh man. So are you looking for a coaching role or?
Nailed it. We figured out how to make her viable. No, it's
Perfect.
Come on, Jake. Come on, Jake.
Hey man, just throwing wild things out there on the table. All right, next topic. Artosis, you know from this one firsthand. You can even tell us the story. Draft mode AFK penalty. Players failing to select a hero in Hero League draft lobbies will no longer be granted a random hero. Instead, the AFK player will now leave the lever penalty, and the game lobby will disband. So, if you're AFK, you just get booted, and you get a lever penalty. But on top of that, the draft timer is increased from 30 to 45 seconds for each draft phase.
Okay, I actually really like it because last night was the first time that ever happened to me in like 1,500 games.
I swear, guys, never happened to me.
Like, it was like the most unlucky shitstorm situation. Like I shouldn't have washed my hands after peeing. That was a foolish move. But look, the people that do that are such scumbags. The people that like just they random and it's like, oh, look at that, I get another first pick Aslo. This is going to be just so fun. I can't wait. So I'm glad that they're doing that. They need pretty strict stuff for levers of any type because it's part of like the RNG of like playing like a Hero League situation, right? Is you get a certain amount of people that just disconnect or leave or whatever, and it just completely ruins the game, unfortunately. Which, by the way, I want to bring up and sidetrack this just real quick. If you have a bot on your team for a certain amount of time, there should be an option where your team can give up. Because I am so fucking sick and tired of someone disconnecting at minute 2 and not coming back, and I have to play a 16-minute game or something with the bot being picked at every single time. Like, there needs to be some sort of option where your whole team can be like, yes, we would like to just lose our points and get out of this.
Can we just let me control the other character from the person who disconnected? Can we go with that?
That would be great too.
How would you decide who gets a controller?
I'll go with anything other than just having a fucking terrible bot on my team.
I mean, Utherbot has made some plays, but you know.
ETC bot too, like Complexity got bodied.
That was the funniest game ever.
You're right. I definitely wouldn't have won that game if I was playing ETC plus another hero. That's a strong point.
So Artosis, and this was a long time ago. There was a game where ETC bot got 3 4-man mosh pits against a pro team.
It was Cloud9 versus Complexity, and King Caffeine DC'd. And
wow.
It was 3 back-to-back, just perfect mosh pits.
He is a great tank. Wow.
Yeah. Caffeine's a god, so is ETC bot.
Even his ghost.
That's pretty sick.
I mean, it's good. Like, I don't know, there's the concept like I can play any hero and like I want to be able to like play what I want. I don't play to the meta. There's that argument, but like no, this is Hero League. This is where you're like trying to compete. Like people who AFK and draft is like the same people that like don't pick talents throughout the game and is like, haha, look at me try and win with no talents. Like, you're a shithead. Please stop.
And you know what? Also Illidan's. Illidan's in Hero League. They should get the lever as well. Because those assholes, they're just like, we look at our comp, it's like, what? The only hero that doesn't fit here is Illidan, so I'm going to pick him and then die 9 times. So they need lever penalties as well, I think.
On that note, I mean, it's good that they're fixing this and that they're adding in for the random. But I run into a lot of people that just as soon as the draft opens up, it's just like boom, they lock onto that hero and then it's just like they walk away for 10 minutes.
They don't type. Sometimes
anything.
Another hero comes up and you just
and then they go random. And I don't think there's no penalty if you pick a hero or you hover over one and then you can leave your computer for 10 minutes. There's no penalty for that. It'll just re-random to a hero, and I don't think that they get ejected or like a new game starts.
Mm-hmm.
So at the very least, I don't know, there should be that penalty applied, or at the minimum, the hero that gets random should be within the same pool of heroes. So like if they selected a tank and like by the time that part of the draft rolls around, then like they should get another tank. At least so that the rest of the team can try to draft around it. At the very minimum, have that.
Yeah, agreed.
So in League of Legends, like they have actually a pretty strict rule set for when it comes to like the rank. Like you have to play to like the certain meta. Like you can get reported. Like if someone's like I call mid, and then like last pick ends up like I'm going mid no matter what, or I'm like you can report that, and like there's like a rating system to like this player, like you can report people over and over again, like if they like don't follow these strict rules that are designed for the competitive ranked play. Do you think that is needed for heroes? Do you think that's like, because it's got pretty strict in League, like to the point where like people would get toxic if you didn't follow the rules? Like, do you think heroes needs that?
No, I mean, there's so many maps in Heroes, and there's like so many different ways you can play. I don't think that you can have anything too strict, but there should be things for, like Kubi was saying, where it's like, it's like, okay, we don't have a healer yet, and our last pick is like, well, I'm going Nova. I haven't typed, and I haven't shown a hero yet, and bam, there it is, it's Nova, and it's like, oh, here's, and the thing is, we'll fight. And we'll get some kills, and this game will go on for 20 minutes, and and then I have to play another game to get those points back, which is going to be another 20 to 30 minutes, and it's like, before you know it, you've taken up an hour of my life, Nova pick. So I think there should be something, like some sort of like report, like maybe not like a direct penalty for last choosing Nova, but if this is like a constant thing you're doing where it's like, there should be like a report where like, this guy like intentionally made like a poor pick here that kind of ruined my experience, because it's like you do need a healer on every team, you know what I mean? And like he didn't type, he didn't do anything, and here he is. So I think that it would be good, because there are definitely people that are just consistently doing this, consistently like trolling and doing that, and it's like, well, if you really want to play Nova, just go to quick match and choose Nova, right? Or take your Illidan pick there as well.
I'm gonna get rank 1 with only Gazlo games.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing I would actually like to see, though, is a lot of other games have done this, where you can kind of like commend a player for being helpful or whatever, just playing well, whatever it is. Now, this is something that exists. I think it used to exist in WoW. It exists in MMOs. And I think I watched the Overwatch stream. I'm pretty sure even Overwatch has this built in, where you can kind of vote for like good player. I could be mistaken, though. Anyways, I think that'd be a nice thing to have, rather than just like putting all the emphasis on like, oh yeah, this guy was an awful player. You promote the people that do these things, and then it's maybe akin to lever queue. It tries to promote the same kind of. I don't know. I don't know the good way to do it.
Oh, that would be amazing. Yeah, like if there was like an anti-lever queue, it's like, okay, this guy wasn't toxic. He was pinging all game. You know, he didn't die too much. He was trying to stay with the team and shit, and you know, he didn't try to take boss with only 3 on the map against 5, and you know, that type of thing. And like, let those players have like a, you know, their queue works out a little bit better or something. Like they get queued with each other, where it's like, look at this, I've been a good boy for so long, I queue with other good boys, and it's fantastic.
You know, there's only gonna be like 9 of those people on Battle.net.
Not enough for a full queue. Oh man, it'll be same as lever queue, just never get a game.
All right, what else did we have? The maximum queue time, formerly 360 seconds, has been increased to 600 seconds in order to try to give more accurate queues based on MMR. Rory, as a pro player, I assume this is very much welcome.
Nailed it.
Well, I mean, I played some quick match games last night where I wanted to try Artanis, and every game was 10-minute wait instead of 6 minutes, and then I still had the same like level 8 people on my team. So
600 seconds, so it's 10 minutes.
Actually, that brings up something. Like, I just want to bounce off what Roy just said. Dreadnought and I recently made Smurfs, and we were getting like 6-7 minute queues, like out the gate.
Yeah, I had the same problem.
Wow.
Like legit, like we're brand new to the game. Hit quick match for the first time. It was like a 6-minute queue.
I think it's because at the
for
MMR,
a new player.
I think it's because the MMR where it hasn't placed you yet, and you're probably playing with the free heroes, that there's like a lot of contention for those heroes. So it's gonna delay the queue process. So once you have like a few more heroes under your belt and you're picking things that aren't in the free rotation, probably would fix that. But I'd run into the same problem.
But like, is that like something that should be worried about? Like if you're new to a game and you queue up and it's like, I'm solo queuing and it's taking 7 minutes to get a game.
Yeah, I would not play that game.
Yeah. People are going to be more upset by that than the fact that they have, like, a Nova on their team instead of a healer if they're, like, playing their 3rd game of HOTS.
Yeah, you just want to play the game.
Yeah.
So I know that was right off topic, but just, like, I remember I wanted to bring
alarming.
Because it was definitely weird. It was like 2 days ago. Like, Dread Knight was like, oh, let's make Smurfs, and then suddenly it's like, oh.
And you didn't invite me?
Yeah, we want to win.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, that's an issue. So what was the point before that?
Wait,
was
actually,
the increased queue time.
Wait,
I think it's only like
Jared. Has it been since this patch? There's actually a note right here. Queue times have been improved for new players. Was it on
we
this
made
patch?
this? It was when we only had issues like for the first like few games we played when we first
so
made
this
the
is
account.
something they
That was, like, 3
actually
days ago,
apparently
so
addressed in this patch.
Right.
I didn't even see that line. So hopefully that is better, because it looks like Blizzard is aware that is a thing, so that's good to hear.
Yeah, it's cool. I don't think it's necessary to have the 10-minute queue time for like quick match and stuff. I think for quick match and like the newbier leagues and whatever you want to do, it can be limited to 6 minutes just because you don't want the long waits. I think it's only important for when you're at the top level of play, just because like it was very frustrating when you're like, you know, one of the higher MMR people and then you're in a 6-minute queue and then it's like, this guy's not even level 40 account yet. You know, in early stuff.
I guess that's something I'd like to rant about, though, is like I'm getting 10-minute queues every single game, right? And I join a game and my opponents have an account level 15 Diablo. What was the point of that 10-minute queue? I've got, you know, several thousand games and this guy has a level 15 account. Like,
well, once you hit the 10 minutes, everything's out the window for rules.
Yeah,
it just changes. Is it a 6-minute time that you're waiting or a 10-minute time?
Yeah.
And there should just, instead of increasing that timer, there should just be a checkbox. It's just like wait as long as possible to get a match that actually makes sense, rather than, and if you uncheck the box, then you wait your 6 minutes and you get a random game.
Yeah, that's a great point, because for streamers especially, like I'm not a streamer, but I know that there's a lot of high MMR streamers, and if they're playing quick match, it's pretty unfair to make them wait 10 minutes to get paired with the same like level 12 randoms that they would have got paired with after 6 minutes anyway. there should definitely be an option for quick match to lower that down willingly.
It is called quick
Yeah.
match.
It is, yeah, it's supposed to be fast. That is true. The number one feedback I've heard from like the league pros is, like in league, you will sit in a queue for 30 minutes just to get people that are around your skill level. And they prefer it that way. They prefer, if they're going to be playing a game, like League of Legends is a much longer game, so they don't want to be playing with like random shitters. But if they're going to play a game, they want it to be a good game, and they're willing to wait like 20, 30 minutes. Of course, that is only at the 0.01% best players like are affected by that. So that's why I bring up like maybe it should only be competitive or like a toggle option, because you know, if you are streaming, you know, now like Jake said, he was streaming today, probably hit a few 10-minute queues, just like sitting there talking with his chat. Like Jake can only give away skins so much, guys. Like he's gonna run out soon.
I'm down to like 15 or 20 skins. Whoa.
Yeah, for Hero League, like I would be totally willing for it to go past 10 minutes. Like there's not very much that I wouldn't do to avoid the standard Hero League game of getting queued with 2 bronzers who are a duo queue trying to stack Asmodan and having like 14 stacks at the end of the game. That's what you get as a pro player playing Hero League. So if I could wait 40 minutes and avoid that, I would definitely prefer that to waiting 10 minutes and having a half-hour game that makes you want to die.
Yeah, there's this fun thing called Hearthstone that you can just kind of wait and play that.
I mean, that's the thing. Most streamers have something that they do. Like, I play Melee on the PC sometimes during the queue, or like
Rocket League.
So, is this new increased search time to 10 minutes? Is this just a ploy to sell more Hearthstone packs?
It's possible.
Blizzard's too good.
Cross promotion. They should have ads pop up. Would you like to buy?
In the meantime, if you want to play Artanis, buy that Legacy of the Void free.
Yeah,
they messed up by putting their ads on the Battle.net launcher and not actually inside the game clients.
They could change it. They could fix it.
Easy peasy, man.
Easy peasy. Oh, your cat just jumped into my desk. That was interesting. All right, that's it for the patch. I mean, the patch is obviously very small, really just the addition of Artanis. He goes public for everyone next week. Of course, he will start at the 15,000 gold, and I don't know what it costs, $10 or something for real money?
I think it's always 10, isn't it, for the new year?
Yeah, I always just buy the bundle. It's like, it ends up being like 13 or something, but I think it's, 10 just for the hero. And
will
of
the
course,
bundle be discounted if you pre-ordered?
I know, that's what because I actually, like, when I first got in the game, I was like, can I buy skins for Artanis because I own them? I was like, oh, no, I can't.
Yeah, since you'll own the hero, it should, I would assume. The dynamic bundle?
Hopefully they're dynamic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, why would you buy the bundle when you could just buy the skin now?
Okay, his skins suck. It's all about the mounts. When does that Protoss skateboard come out?
Skateboard. The hoverboard. The Void Seeker.
Back to the Future Day. We need the hoverboard.
Void Seeker. If I had to guess, we will have a bunch of new mounts next week because they can't delay the Headless Horseman mount past Halloween. That seems ridiculous, right? So they need to add the Headless Horseman's charger. I would assume we'd get the Void Seeker.
Wait, is that actually coming out?
I assume next week. I mean, they showed it in a video. Yeah, the Headless Horseman charger, the mount.
How do you? Isn't it just a horse? Didn't he just ride a horse, the Headless Horseman?
Yeah, so his horse is going to be a mount. It's from World of Warcraft.
It's
the horse has a head, Artosis. Like the horse is like alive and kicking.
It's a World of Warcraft Halloween event mount. And
I would prefer if the horse didn't have a head. That would be cooler.
Jake, you need 3 items for it to be dynamic. Get wrecked.
Jake.
That means we have to pay full price for that skin.
Dynamic. I'm not surprised. And then, the Cyborg Artanis skin. I assume we'll get the Void Seeker mount. I don't know if we'll get anything else. I want the Pirate Falstad more than any of those things.
Yeah, that one's actually really sick.
Buccaneer Falstad looks sick.
So handsome. All right, Jared, this is something that you I know you want to talk about, is the rule sets in Heroes for the Road to BlizzCon included a roster lock. So every team that qualified for their regional event, the team that you qualified with was your 5-man team. So when Tempo Storm qualified, that 5-man roster, that's their roster. Same thing for Murlocs. You guys qualify, you want to make a roster change after the July NA Open or whatever, you can't. You're locked in. So, Jared, this has affected Tempo Storm in some ways, and I'll let you take it away.
I'm gonna be a little bit no fluff here. If we had the option to make roster changes, we would have, like, a long time ago. And it's gotten to the point that when we would have made roster changes, we would have been fine. Like, when we initially would have been able to, like, make changes like we wanted to, we would have been fine. But we're at a point where half the team hates each other. Like, it's bad. And it's affecting our play hard. And we can't do anything about it. We are just stuck. And the main thing that this did, it did a lot of things, but we were just stuck in these rosters for 6 months almost since we qualified. E-Star, I believe, when they qualified, was before us, so that's even longer for them. But one thing that this did, from an organization's perspective, from my perspective, is that immediately took almost all power away from the org. When the players know that they are safe, they can do whatever they want. And there's almost nothing we can do about it. Like, outside of, like, depending on the player, right? Like, just say if a player's like, I don't care if you cut my salary. I don't care if you fine me for not doing this, this, and this, because you're stuck with me till BlizzCon. And that's basically where my team is at, is that we're just at a point where there's nothing, like, there's conflict, and there's, like, nothing I can do to motivate some of the players that just have no motivation. It's really bad. It is really bad, the situation that we are in as a team. And I don't think anyone at Blizzard would have expected the roster locks potentially having this kind of impact, but it did. Like I said, we would have went through roster changes back in July. That's how long we've been wanting to make changes. And at that point, it wasn't bad. But because we, like, this like, almost like a tumor has been just, like, growing and growing and growing, it's like, players are depressed every single day. Like, I get players coming to me, like, in tears, just like they don't want to be here. They don't want to play. Potentially could have, like, ruined a few players, like, pro gaming careers, just because this last few months has been so toxic for them. There's no one that's, like, individually, like, this person's a giant piece of shit. It's just, like, standard, like, people don't get along. That happens in life, right? Like, you're just not going to like people you work with. Sometimes it's bad enough to where, like, you just can't work with them. But we can't do anything about it. And you mix in all of those factors that the players can't, like, the players control. Like, you can't be like, I'm going to cut you this salary. Well, then I'm going to, like, not play in this tournament. Or, like, if we do, like, try and do motivational things, like, if you do this, like, we'll help you out. And it's like, well, I don't have to do this, though. Like, you're stuck with me till BlizzCon. It's like, it's been a really, like, almost bizarre situation to go through.
What do you recommend to be the change? Not that they could to make it now, obviously, at this point. Like, when they made a decision, they stuck with it. But what do you feel is the ideal situation?
Just not, like, being a forced 5-man roster lock.
But how would you make that fair for players as well? Because if I look at this from, like, a business perspective, if I own a big team and don't give a shit, what I do is I kick out my team from North America that qualified, and then I buy MVP Black. And there you go. That's the new Tempo Storm. Whoa, sick! MVP Black's going to BlizzCon, but they're called Tempo Storm. And, like, even, like you said, half the team hates each other. How would you choose, like, let's say that you're like, well, the owners like these 2 players that hate the other 3, so we're going to kick out these 3 that really help to qualify for BlizzCon. So I'm not saying that you're wrong, but, like, you have to protect players as well here, because they're the ones that actually put in their time and effort and, everything into it to actually qualify.
I think, for me, the main thing is the duration of it. Like, it's been since June. That is a long time for a 5-man roster to be locked.
I feel like...
Especially because, like, we didn't have subs listed at the time, just because we had just gone through the roster change with Glaurung, and then we had just picked up Zuna. So, like, we're not going to have a sub listed at that time.
I almost feel like some of this responsibility is on the contracts of the players. There has to be some kind of failsafe for these kind of situations. Like, if a player isn't fulfilling their duty, if a player is feeding or intentionally not practicing or whatever. You have to find them. Like, it has to be written in their contract. It has to be like rock solid, and they get fined.
What I'm saying is we have fined. They don't care.
Bom, bom, bom.
Wow.
So this is a very Tempo Storm isolated situation, but like, let's just say we take out the super negative aspects of it, right? Like that, like I can't actually just get players to want to play the game. Like there are players that just refuse to play the game. Like let's just say we take out all that, and it's just these players like start to not like each other, or someone starts to show that they're weaker over time. 6 months is a long time to change, right? 6 months is a very long time where anything can happen with an individual player. Like look at Oreo Man. Like no one knew that drama going into it, right? They were able to cut him because guess what? His team wasn't roster locked for 6 months. When you come up with those issues, they didn't know Oreo Man would I don't know the whole story, but they didn't know when they signed him. Whatever issues would happen with him were going to happen, right? It's just these things can happen though.
What would you suggest for the rule to be something that would be fair to like all the players? Because that's really rough, right? Like, should players be able to be kicked out but still receive part of the prize pool from BlizzCon? Like what would you suggest to make this, a way that would be good for everyone involved? Because it seems like one of these choices where nothing is good. Like there's no perfect way here.
It's tough, right? I want to just be like default, like the 3/5 rule, but then like you said, the situation before, where like, well, the owner likes these three, so we kick the other two. Like that's unfair. I just think it can't be for as long. If you want to do a roster lock, you can't.
So basically, you're just saying the whole process was drawn out a little bit too long. It's just tough.
So after you qualify for, let's say in your case, right after Vegas, you're allowed one roster change or. What?
Or something like maybe like it's the opens weren't roster lock to going into. I don't know. It's just such a tough situation because maybe something has to be split into like 3 different things, but because Road to BlizzCon was actually just the one singular road to BlizzCon, so it starts here and then you're locked here, and the Road to BlizzCon doesn't end until BlizzCon, so maybe it needs to be like a 3 opens type
that's still
deal.
Dicey. Okay, because you're in the situation where a bunch of teams are qualified through NA, and at the time it was very clear that Cloud9 and Tempo Storm were the dominant teams. They were the 2 that were going to advance. From this is what we're looking at from our perspective, because it was really like the teams that were underneath.
Yeah, June, May.
No offense, Cauthon, but just like you guys weren't there yet. And what you run into probably is a situation where the other 3 teams that qualify probably just try at their best to form a super team, like to challenge that. Is that a problem? But like now all of a sudden you're taking 3 teams that were messing well together, and now they're just like, well, let's break this all up so that we have at least a chance to qualify for BlizzCon.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen that that kind of freedom, the Maelstrom Vortex situation, where if you look at Cloud9 now, that is 3/5 Vortex, which was originally, only 2 members of them being Maelstrom, right? Dunktrain and Caffeine. The other 3 were all picked up overtime over Vortex because there was no safety for Vortex, right? It was just an option. But let's just say we're in a situation, right? There's a counter argument for the players themselves. At one point, one of our players wanted to leave the team, but he felt obligated to stay because if he did leave the team, he was screwing 4 other players, some of them who deserved it really, really like a shitload. He would be denying those players their chance to compete at Vegas, but he could not compete. He was wanting to be done. He wanted to quit, but he couldn't because of the inverse of that. He wanted to be finished, and he would have been screwing over 4 other people. I don't know. It's a really tough situation, and I don't know the answer for it. That's kind of why I want to bring it up. Brainstorm options, like what can Blizzard do differently? Is this the only way to go about it? I mean,
how does it work for LCS? I know that's a much more established thing. Do you guys actually know how it's locked in, like what they're allowed? Do you have an allowance of X number swaps? Can you force certain rules like that, like a maximum of 7 within a season?
I know they go through roster changes mid-split. I don't know if it's based off subs and stuff. it's a completely different learning experience for me, just because, like, I mean, Cawthon can, like, attest to it. Like, how would you, besides, like, using your coach as a sub, how would you know who you want as a sub? Because, like, you're always going to play with the main roster. Like, unless you're just wanting to, like, poach some individual player and be like, you're not going to play for any other team just in case something bad happens to us, right? But, like, what player would want to sign up to be a sub for that team? Because they're never going to get to play unless worst case scenario, right? It's just
Right.
like...
And the pools for heroes, like strong heroes players, at least in NA, is small enough as it is. Yeah, who would lock into that?
Pretty much anytime you get a sub, it's just because they want to get their name out there and get picked up by a different team, and why wouldn't they? I mean, like, there's nothing wrong with that, right? But that's how it is.
Yeah.
And if you want a sub that doesn't have aspirations to be a pro player on another team, then that probably means they're not very good, or they're not dedicated to it. So it's a difficult situation. I would say one of the other problems you have in the situation where, say, the top 2 teams are looking to change their rosters. Let's use Vegas as an example. What do you do when those 2 teams throw money at the best players from the 3rd through 5th team and try to snipe their key shot caller or whatever? Do you put those other teams who've qualified for an event on some sort of like they're off limits to other teams? Like, they can't mess with them?
Yeah.
Can you only take new players from the pool of free agents, or can you snipe anyone you want? Because it would be well worth it for a team to pay somebody a few $1,000s to basically just remove the enemy team from competition because they're, say, the shot caller or, like, the support, and there's no good free support agents or something. Like, there's all sorts of sabotage you could do that would screw over the scene for a short-term gain, and people will do it.
Yeah, totally.
Artosis, do you have any insights in terms of the Korean teams? Like, any drama that you've heard of?
There's always been, like, strict rules in Korea to stop anything like this, like the KESPA organization, like that. It's not involved with heroes. I don't know if it will be in the future, or whatever. But, like, there's always been rules about free agents, who you're allowed to draft, how you're allowed to approach people, how your contract has to end to join a new team. Even when you join a new team, how long it takes between joining them and being able to play in an official match and all that stuff. And, like, they basically just have it mapped out super professionally so that things like this don't happen. And the NA scene just doesn't... First off, there's no unifying body for all of esports anyways in the West. And so there's no way, like, just like C-Luke was saying, like, if you have it so that they can switch rosters, they're just going to pick up, for the prize pool there, they can spend enough money to just gut every team. And you're going to get, like, some Yankees-type teams right away where they have all the best players and thus always control all the money. And then how do you do it? So I don't know. Nothing is coming up for roster change type thing into my brain that tells me it would work well in the NA scene.
Yeah, it's tough. And, like, we're in a very unique situation because we had, like, it literally is, like, as bad as it could get. I can't think of, like, another situation that would be added to, like, the roster and, like, what's going on between the players and, like, people just wanting to leave and stuff. Like, so, like, this is a very isolated, like, this is worst case, right? But it happened. Like, these rules are in place to avoid even just, like, the halfway worst case scenario. And I honestly don't know what to do. Like, I don't know what feedback to, like, try and give to Blizzard. I know that they're aware of it and they're, like, wanting to think of rules around it, but how do you make it fair towards everyone without, like, because I think the most shocking thing to me was when literally one of my players came to me crying saying he didn't want to play anymore, but he felt like he had to because he didn't want to screw over his friends. Like, that is a shitty situation to be in.
Yeah.
And that is, like, how do you fix that?
And there's no good answer either because, like, even in a different world where if, like, the player could appeal to Blizzard that they want to leave the team, players can be coerced in that very easily. Yeah. Pro gamers are young people that don't have a lot of money and, they play video games all day and stuff and maybe don't have the steadfastness to say no to, adults telling them, like, you have to go retire now or something like that. So, yeah, what a tough thing it is. I don't know.
I think this is, like, the whole thing comes down to, like, the format and the ecosystem, and it's going to be really interesting to see how Blizzard approaches heroes for next year, too, when you think about this. You look at LCS, and LCS is something that's, been quite successful. All the teams live in one area. They all live in team houses. But it's something that happened over years and years and years. And immediately, like with Heroes, they did this Road to BlizzCon, which is forcing some. It's kind of like a league in some regards, at the point where you have a roster that you're locked into, but it's still not a league. It's a series of qualifiers, but it extends over 5 months. But without a salary provided by that organization to keep that league intact, it's hard to justify it when you think about it, right? This is something I didn't think about until you even brought it up today at all, Zoya, right? I don't think of this, like the team aspect of all these teams that have been having turmoil potentially. Like, who knows what it's like in Europe? Like, we actually we do know that Team Liquid had massive internal issues and they didn't manage to qualify. And now they're going through roster changes now that the European Open has ended. But that's 2 top teams that have really just shown that they are having issues within themselves, and as a result, Temple Storm will be represented at BlizzCon, but Team Liquid won't be, and it's possible that could have been salvaged. So it's a hard thing to fix. I don't know the answer. I don't think we're gonna think of the answer tonight.
Yeah,
but
it's just out there, you know.
That sucks to hear.
Yeah, it's tough. We'll see what happens at BlizzCon, which I'm sure we're about to talk about soon.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's. Like I want everyone to know, like, no one individually is to blame. It's not like there's just this one toxic person. It's like, you know, there's just people don't get along. That's just what happens. And eventually, when you're living, it's the team. Like, if this were to happen, and we weren't in the team house, I'm sure we would have been fine. But now you're also living with people, and you know, like I think Dan said the most important thing. These are kids. Like, they like to think they're adults. They're kids. They're like half my team hasn't had a job. Like they would not be able to live if I wasn't here. Like we had a situation the other day where the internet went out and someone almost like had a panic attack because they didn't know how to like call the internet company. Like, and I wasn't home. Like they don't know how to live. Like, they literally out of high school and now they're living on their own in a pro gaming situation.
How much of this would have been different if they weren't living in a team house? Has that made the situation worse or better? I'm curious.
Because of our specific situation with like this roster, it made things worse.
Okay.
Just because, like, if you don't like someone, if you're only scrimming 6 to 8 hours a day, you can deal with, like, that's just life, right? Like, you have to work with people you don't like. But if it, like, when you work and then you're living with that person and you're like sitting next to them in the gaming room and then you're going to go get Taco Bell with them, and then, you know, when you go to the gym, like, they're in that car with you, like, there's no escape. And that's, you know, 6 months of that, we're here.
Kubi, just to ask you as the ripped nerd here, should you be eating Taco Bell while going to the gym? Or
Absolutely not. No.
All right, just I wanted to make sure.
I mean, unless you've like convinced all the people there just to give you straight meat tacos, but not a good idea.
All right.
Jared, that's on you. You have to convince.
Listen, like, if you get the right stuff, Taco Bell has a good amount of protein, and we bulk up.
You map this out.
We get in
Bulk
there. You gotta go
up
ham.
one.
Gotta go ham. I know that was a bit much. No fluff there, but
Can we put you on blast again?
Yeah, go for it, dude.
Can we go on to a second? This one's probably a bit shorter, but we're speaking to the HTC event and the way that the formatting worked for this event was two groups split up 4 teams, or 8 teams total that were invited to this event. So 2 groups of 4, and instead of doing it like the America's European Championship style, even what we saw, no, not quite Super League, but they played a round robin instead of doing, you know, base match, winner match, elimination. And since there was a round robin situation, there were some matches that occurred towards the end of the group that had 0 impact on the effect of that group, maybe with the exception of seeding. I think that was the case. But Temple Storm opted to forfeit out of a match. And I would say that there was a decent amount of backlash. Reddit thread was made, highly discussed.
Now,
some people were quite upset about it, so I'm curious to hear your perspective.
Before Jared answers, I just want to say this is something that has happened throughout esports.
Yeah.
In every single title that has ever existed, and in Heroes, we've seen many times in the past. So I just want everyone to understand this is not like it's a first-time offense in esports, and the huge backlash thing is just like, come on, guys, this has been happening forever.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and just take blame for it. I should have looked at the format before we agreed to play in it, and I should have said something. Like, we have input in these. Like every like whatever you want, grassroots, homegrown tournament. Like, if we just be like, hey, this is gonna lead to this potentially. Maybe change the format to the Vegas group style. That could have been like should have seen the groups. But yeah, it's happened a lot. Like I just said, the Naniwa situation. If you don't know what happened with Naniwa, like go look. It's like it was a big deal in StarCraft, and then we never saw that format ever again.
Yeah,
like it was just gone.
Yeah.
And that needs to happen for like any tournament probably.
That type of thing gets escalated too, especially in other cultures. I think that was in Korea that happened. It was seen as like a massive disrespect and a huge amount of backlash.
That was bad.
That is true. Like in Korea, if a match doesn't matter, you'll still see it played out. And the thing is, like fans, like most people think they know esports and competitive video games much better than they actually do. A lot of people that watch, so they don't realize that like when you see a match that actually doesn't have anything on the line, a show match somewhere, like by Korean players playing, do you think that they're giving their fucking best right now and showing you actually quality games? Well, you can't actually tell a guy that's watching, and they aren't. But they still play. So there's like, I guess, two ways to argue. It's like either you play for your fans and show them a game that's interesting or something. But I personally, as someone that appreciates the highest level of competition only, don't ever want to see that. I want to see every worthless match cut because I know that you can't try as hard. You can't put in your all when it doesn't matter. It just is. I've been a pro gamer in the past, and I know this, that when I hit a match suddenly, I'm like, I already qualified. There's no prize. I don't know. Why am I playing this match, right? It doesn't make any sense. I don't even want to play this. And those should be cut because for people that actually can look at that and be like, oh, okay, these guys are shitting around. Like, it's, do you want to watch that? Isn't there something else you can be doing? Can't we just turn off the stream now and like you can go read a book or something? I don't know.
Cauthon, do you agree?
I posted on that thread. I gave my thoughts. It's a situation where there is no right move for Tempo Storm to make, and I think they chose the one that was least insulting to the fans and to my team. So I have no problem with it.
Yeah, like just to like draw it layout. Back in ESL Major League Season 2, I believe it was might have been Season 3. Complexity and Cognitive hit the exact same situation where they had a match that did not matter. I don't even think it counted towards seeding actually, because they knew what seed they were going to be. So they did troll matches. They did reverse drafts. They did dumb shit like Murky Gazlo. Like, they just had fun, and the community went insane. They hated it for that.
Well, it was 50-50. Twitch chat was either like, these are the most fun games I've ever watched in my life, or this is the most
disrespectful. I didn't see the actual games live, but Reddit gave them hate. They were like, this was a disrespect to the tournament. Like, and we just didn't want to deal with that. Like, we were just like, okay, we don't want to deal with that, so we're not going to do troll games. People make the argument like, just go in and like half-ass. Like, I'm with Artosis. We don't half-ass things. Even like against like lower level teams in the ESL Major League, we always draft as if they're C9. We always play as if they're the best team. We do not do fake games. And then you have the forfeit option, which, like Cauthon said, like it's no insult to Murloc. We respect Murlocs, and based off the results of that tournament, well, we didn't play them twice, but we could have hit them or at all, but we could have played them multiple times in that tournament. Like, why in a match it doesn't matter risk showing strats to a team like Murlocs, who's really good at like adapting and figuring out play? It was just, I don't know. It's from like, it should be on the tournament to not just do this format, but it's also like I should have just been like, we're not playing in this tournament with this format, especially right before BlizzCon.
Yeah.
It's just a bad format. Like,
well,
it needs to go. It needs to be removed.
It's just one of those things that the community in general, just a reminder that we're a young community when it comes to tournament formats, when it comes to every aspect of our competitions. None of it's been refined. When it comes to the way roster locking works, the way that map pools work, everything, you name it. It all could be thought about a little bit more. And maybe we should have a tournament rule set discussion on the show after BlizzCon. I think that would be a good idea. We'll jot that down as a topic.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, I was going to say, I think you mentioned before about how the tournament format after that Nanawa incident went away, and it did. And we've had round robins since then in Korea. And what happens is we have a tentative schedule of what the matches will be, and as soon as particular matches don't matter anymore. Those get cut out immediately. We're like, oh, okay, because of this result, now we're skipping this next match because we don't need to see these two last place players fight, and we're going to the next one.
I guess
no one's ever complained about
the trouble with that is if you're selling a sponsor X number of games broadcast, and in the Western world, a lot of the times you're promising like X series that will be broadcast.
Yeah, but you make that
make a different format.
Yeah, make a different format.
Change the format, or you tell them ahead of time,
right.
like, sure, we're going to run this format. We can get you between 26 and 30 hours. You know what I mean? Don't say we're going to give you 30 hours of content because you can't always guarantee that, especially with the variable length of games. And, like, does it go 2 or 3 matches? Like, you have to give them a range anyway. Just factor it in.
True.
It's
or make a format that you get all those games. Like, you can get creative with your format and make sure that all these games mean something.
Yeah.
And also put in the rules you can't forfeit if that's the way you want to do it. And, like, if you can't forfeit and they want to choose Murky and Gazlow, the thing is, a lot of fans will enjoy watching that. And when you get Reddit feedback, that's the most hardcore section of the community. That is this small amount that cares so much that they're going to post about it and flame all the time, and they aren't the ones that you should be reading the feedback of because they're watching anyways.
Sure.
My turn for a call out.
Yeah, let's do it.
I had your back on the whole forfeit issue, Zoya. So after the performance in this tournament for Tempo Storm,
please don't.
How are you guys? I'm rooting for NA, right? How are you guys gonna work to fix things up before BlizzCon? Because I don't want to see that type of performance at BlizzCon representing NA.
Just got real heavy in here.
So this kind of goes back to the conversation we had before this one. Right now, I'm doing everything I can to motivate players, get them to work better together, and whatnot. But if you want NA to win, cheer for Cloud9. Because unless a miracle happens,
you're not doing everything you can to motivate them. Because that statement, ooh,
that is true.
Doesn't even fix it.
So we have like the history of Tempo Storm. Like going into Vegas, I don't know if we were scrimming you guys specifically, but we were getting bodied by Complexity. I know for sure.
Yep.
Like Kubi was watching those games. He knows.
Why do you think my caster prediction? I said Complexity and Cloud9 were going to advance. Everyone's like, why are you saying that? It's like, you haven't watched what I've watched over the last month. You have not seen them lose 75% of their games to Complexity.
Yeah.
And they played them in the semifinals. I was like, all right, this is it. I'm going to watch this. I'm going to watch this happen. Everyone's going to be like, oh, that's so smart. But I mean, like, anyway, like, seeing that and then what things have evolved into, yeah.
We have the ability to turn it up at events, like we always do. Like we will have a week of the worst scrims of our life, and then dumpster everyone in a tournament for the weekend. I don't know why it works. It's just weird.
That's your usual style. I guess the better question is, why didn't it work this time? And is there something you can do about it before BlizzCon?
We are practicing our hardest, right? Like we're scrimming C9 as hard as we can. We're doing everything we can, but it just goes back to that previous conversation where we're so far down the rabbit hole that, like, when you're depressed, like, and you show up to play, like, you're at 50%, man. Like, it's bad.
Should buck up, kids. A lot of money on the line.
I tell them that, man. The difference between 8th place and 4th place, and we can make it out of our group. We're about to talk about groups. I am not too afraid. Like, despite us having the lowest seed or whatever and getting, like, a stack group, we can make it out of groups. And I am doing everything I can to motivate them. They do believe it. It just depends if we show up or not. Because some days we show up and we're like 3-level leading C9 in scrims, and then
who are you gonna beat to get out of groups though, right? Because you have
we'll lose.
So the two really sick teams in there, right? And kind of unknown.
The Chinese Team Heart or whatever. We're not afraid. We we're not gonna sleep on them, but probably the underdog.
They weren't who I was talking about.
Yeah, it's Navi and DK. We're gonna get wrecked by DK if we play them. Like, I think anyone can go with that mindset. You go in and you try and beat them, right? But DK looks so disgusting right now. NA has consistently shit on Europe, so we're not too worried about Navi. So hopefully,
one series?
I believe in America. God damn it!
100% win rate versus Europe, Kubi.
Yeah, okay.
NA
No,
is
you're right.
doing-
You're right. I mean,
NA's doing so great. No, not it's a tough group, but I think if we show up, we can make it out. It won't be easy, but jokes aside, if we show up and have the games where we're actually 3-level leading C9 and sometimes in scrims, we can make it out of groups, but it just depends on which Tempo Storm shows up.
America will be victorious
that flag, Jake.
in BlizzCon. I have faith in my country
that's
for
what
this
Jared's saying.
event.
Just root for C9. That's what he's saying.
Cloud9,
If you want to
lead us to victory.
America's finals. Come on, let's do it. I think you guys are better than Navi too, if people can put aside their emotions.
Yeah.
I've been pretty unimpressed with Europe in general from the little we've seen, but mostly their meta. And I mean, I don't want to lose to the team that doesn't take BlizzCon seriously. So I want you guys to do well.
We are
and
taking it
advance.
seriously. I don't want anyone out there that heard the story of Tempo Storm's problems that we are not giving up. We are still practicing. It's just, it's a tough living environment for some of these kids, and it affects on their day to day. But we are not giving up. We are scrimming C9 as much as possible. We're scrimming other teams. When we're going to be spending 2 weeks, we leave this Saturday. For those that don't know, opening week soon. We leave this Saturday, and we're in Cali for 2 weeks with the other teams. We're going to be scrimming teams from the other regions. We've already got those planned out. We are going hard. We studied teams as hard as we can. We didn't study, spoiler alert, when we got bodied by MVP Black, guess what? We didn't study them.
Yeah, because that's horrible. Let's not talk about the
studying
past.
this time.
Good.
We are doing...
That's good to hear. Play through the pain, because I want to see Europe get bodied just a little bit more. I want to see that sad look on Caldor's face. These are the things that keep us going here at the cellar of the NA scene, which is just out of BlizzCon reach.
Fair enough.
All right.
We're giving it, though. I promise you that.
Let's transition to the group stage. Like you mentioned.
What? Can we didn't talk about Murloc's result at HTC.
Oh yeah. So
That's pretty
HTC
big.
in general, just talk about some of the weird meta things. Diablo, Falling Sword. Why don't you touch on those things, and of course Murloc's results.
Oh, you want me to touch on
Yeah,
Falling Sword?
yeah, both and Diablo.
Well, you played against it, yeah. So
I can't even. I can't even.
most of us watching couldn't even.
Fair. I would be so mad if if 2 people on my team misclicked ultimates. I don't even know
They
what
said they misclicked Falling Sword and Nidus.
So I believe the
Rex.
Falling
Wow.
Sword. I don't know if I believe them on the Nidus.
Yeah,
They're a pretty notoriously coming from us, calling somebody cheesy
No,
doesn't
they're
really
cheats.
mean doesn't
Like
really
old
mean
school
much.
2R.
But I
Blaze,
think there's a
this
good
is
chance
Blaze.
the Nidus was for real, and they're trying to make people think it was an accident, so it catches people off guard in the future again.
Well, they ran it with Abathur, right? Didn't they? They did the double
they
clone
had-
strategy,
they had
and
double-
they made
they
they
did it.
drafted for
Okay.
it in the one possible way that it could make sense. They had a draft that kind of fit it. So for them to say that they had misclicked all of those heroics, questionable.
Yeah, I'm
Questionable.
not sure I'm buying it.
That said, not to take anything away from the rest of their performance, taking a 2-0 victory over Tempo Storm
Yeah.
when it counted. And Jared was saying this during the cast. It's the first time we've not had a Tempo Storm Cloud9 finals in a North American tournament in some time. So Blaze really, just getting out of the groups was a big result for them. And also being able to take out Tempo Storm in that lower bracket match, good for them. And also good on you guys for getting to grand finals as well. You guys really
The first grand
showed
finals,
some
right?
awesome plays.
Maybe. I guess of a big result. We've won a lot of smaller tournaments.
ESL
I think it's
stuff.
our first grand finals that had Tempo and C9 both in them. You could definitely say that.
Yeah.
We've won some other smaller tournaments for sure that had 700 on the line or some other things. But it felt weird not playing against Tempo Storm in a tournament. It was really fun. We're pretty happy with our results. We got bodied by C9, but I think there's a good chance that C9 is the best team in the world right now. So it was a good lesson we tried a lot of weird team comps against them to try to find something that worked just because they're so solid, and we didn't really get as much information as we wanted, but we got a lot of quality games in during the tournament, and I think everybody was pretty happy that we managed to make it to the finals and throw out a decisive pretty decisive wins in every aspect of the tournament other than playing C9, which is almost to be expected at this point. They're playing so well.
Yeah, I think everything was 2-0. Oh no, in the
We had a close
first set of matches, yeah, there was
versus
2-1,
C9.
2-1, but
It was
everything
2-1.
after that moment, or those first two
2-0.
matches in the upper bracket, or everything was 2-0. So yeah, convincing matches. Oh, good on you guys.
Yeah.
It's cool to see you guys growing as a team. I've been watching you guys for a while, so awesome to see that flexibility as a team, like you were mentioning, sort of starting to pan out a little bit more.
For sure. Shout out to my team also for sticking together for I think we just hit half a year.
Yeah.
And we've had some drama issues with Zevron, and we've had not
you've been
always
through
the
a lot.
greatest, we've had not always the greatest results. Like Jared mentioned earlier, we had that month where we're kind of getting bodied by everybody. But I think at this point we're at least the NA team that's had the same roster exactly for the longest amount of time. So I think it says a lot that we're able to like stick together and believe in each other for this long. So shout out to Murloc Geniuses. We got some exciting stuff coming in terms of new logos, and we're going to be rocking the Murloc Geniuses jersey at BlizzCon. Those of us who are going. So
Nice.
we're starting to maybe push the brand a little bit. We'll do our own thing if we're not gonna get picked up. So
Yep.
Murlocs are sticking around.
Rock on, man.
Very
you
cool.
guys are really good. Like, I know it doesn't mean anything, but I play heroes all the time right now. Like, I'm putting everything I have into learning this game. And when my motley crew of nerds hit you guys on Team League, it made me want to fucking uninstall because it was just insane how good you guys were. It's like I could really feel it. So, anyways, I'm rooting for you guys.
You inspired him, Artosis. Usually my team trolls Team League to the point where I have to yell at people to start playing seriously. But as soon as we saw,
you guys first picked Uther, so
as soon as we saw Artosis, people are like, "Oh, let's smash him! Let's dumpster these guys." So yeah, you inspired us to great things.
Raise your dumpsters. All right, let's talk about the group stage and BlizzCon quickly. We're running pretty low on time here, but the groups were announced earlier today. And one thing, you will notice here is that E-Star is not on the list. E-Star, having visas issues, will not be able to attend BlizzCon. I heard somewhere in the chat that there's still like a glimmer of hope that they'll fix it, but considering they've announced Braveheart will be playing in their stead, I can't imagine that being the case. So
how deep down the Chinese like seeding is Braveheart?
They're number
Like,
three.
They're three.
They're third. They were
placed
third?
They placed third in the qualifier.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're not
You know,
like. What's up?
I was going to say Braveheart. Like, I'm not looking forward to these guys doing that. What, like, they played at IEM Shenzhen, right? I recall them playing there. I didn't really care for them. And then, like, if you look at Chinese results overall, the Koreans normally wreck some face over there. So I'm like, ooh, the third place Chinese team? I don't know.
Yeah.
This was third place like what, 7 months ago almost? Like their qualifier happened before ours.
No.
No, their qualifier just finished up recently.
Really?
Yeah.
It was
maybe the qualifier for the qualifier.
It was
Braveheart
before
they
Vegas.
played.
Yeah,
it was before
They
Vegas.
started the qualifiers like way long ago, but like
Okay.
the final tournament like just barely ended like a little
Okay.
like within the last month or something like that.
So Group A will be Cloud9, Team YL, Dignitas in Gia. Now Cloud9, of course, America, Team YL. They will be playing from China, Dignitas, Europe, and Gia, that's Southeast Asia. And then
Taiwan.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then for Group B, we have DK from Korea, Navi, Braveheart from China. Navi, of course, is Europe, and then Tempest from America. So they have it split down the middle for both groups. It's 2 Western and 2 Asian teams in each team, and I think that's personally, I was happy to see that. I was happy to see NA and EU split up in each group as well, just so we get to see, having regional grudge matches is a good thing for esports in general.
You can see the NA bias with these groups too. Number 1 NA seed gets the Taiwanese team. Yeah. Easy ride.
Wow.
All the way
Wait,
through.
Templestorm gets Braveheart, subbed in 3rd place Chinese team.
I mean, you can't compare the 3rd place Chinese team to like the number 1 Taiwanese. Like, come on, Jake. China's not that bad.
Okay.
So
Anyway, did you guys watch the Taiwanese one where the team's not performing well, or because I didn't get to catch that?
The VODs are near impossible to get in any kind of decent quality. and
I watched the games.
the drafts are really good.
Because the Taiwan esports scene actually like dwarfs the American esports scene. Just to let you guys know, they have studios. It's on TV. They have pro gaming houses all over the place. Like
They're not good at
there's some
Heroes.
legit players. Like didn't Taipei Assassins like win League of Legends a few
they
years
did.
ago and
Yeah.
stuff? Like
They did 2 years
I
ago.
mean, I didn't get to watch, so I just don't know. But I would not underestimate, and I believe it's a shared server with Korea.
Well,
I do believe the Taiwanese play on the same server as the Koreans, which means that their practice is pretty good.
it doesn't show, at least in their draft. Because
Okay.
like when you kind of look at Korea, you kind of look at NA, kind of look at EU, like they're different drafts, but you can see similar things. Like you can like as NA, we can respect EU and Korea's drafts. Taiwan, they either like know something everyone else doesn't, or they don't know anything.
All right.
Bull.
I don't know. I didn't get to watch it, so I don't know.
Well, those are our groups. The group stage actually starts 1 week from today. 1 week from today, actually less than that, because it starts at 1:30 p.m. Pacific on the 28th.
Yeah, exactly a week.
So that means there will be no town hall next week, and we're gonna leave it at that.
Okay, cool. So like I don't know if it's public, but there's going to be 6 matches total that day. All of the individual matches and then the winners matches get played. No elimination matches happen at the opening weekday, so you get to still like see teams, like all 8 teams play at BlizzCon. But yeah, 6 matches is pretty cool. Like with all these teams, like you get a little peek at like how the metas are clashing and stuff, like right before BlizzCon. I'm hyped about it, man.
How do you guys think the various regions will do, and how the teams will actually end up? Because I did hear Chauthon, you saying that you thought Cloud9 would end up winning this, which is funny because I've been around esports a long time, and I'm always watching NA in Europe be like, we're as good as the Koreans at this game, and then they just aren't. So I'm wondering if you're actually thinking that Cloud9 might be the best team in the world and might actually win.
Well, Arteezy, I think that they definitely have a shot. I mean, when I say I think they're gonna win, I don't mean like 80% they're gonna win. I mean like, hey, they might be the favorites at like a 30% chance to win.
Mm-hmm.
But like compared to the other teams, like they've been playing so well over the last month. You can tell they're playing better even than they were. And I mean, they had really strong showings at the MSI. I think Jared, you yourself said that you thought if Cloud9 had played against MVP Black, they probably would have beat them.
Yeah.
At MSI,
At
right?
MSI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree with
But,
that.
I mean-
Stylistically, the way that Cloud9 approaches the game, and they're just
It would. I didn't necessarily mean that they would definitely win. They would have had definitely a way better chance than
Yeah.
us because stylistically they
Yeah.
would have been much better versus MVP Black's playstyle at the time.
I think that it just in general, Cloud9's playstyle versus the Korean playstyle, I think Cloud9 has a very good chance of beating any of the Asian teams. And I think that Navi is in the same boat.
I disagree. Okay, if you're saying like just a chance to win, sure. I think DK is going to win the whole thing. Like, they look so stupid right now. They are dumb. I hate that team. Watching them play makes me angry. Like,
Their draft
they just
isn't that
look
strong yet,
so
though.
good.
I just hope that people have cool drafts because that's what's going to beat them. They're going to lose in the draft phase if they lose at all.
I mean, maybe. Yeah, like you only see them play versus Koreans. So, and
Well,
like
Yeah.
every time you see
They
them
might
play
bring in
MVP,
something else.
yeah.
Right.
Anytime you see them play MVP Black just drafts stupid. So it's like hard, like, but like watching them mechanically as players, like it's the first
They're
time
good.
that like you can be like, this is what StarCraft mechanics can do in a MOBA. It's just like, whoa, like before it's like, well, you got all these StarCraft like shit tier pros like CauthonLuck that transfer over, and it's just like, well, but like when you actually have good Koreans playing, it they look good. I think they'll win, but I agree with like everyone's saying like Navi and C9 potentially like being there in the finals. Like those are my top 3, but I think DK is just.
All right, we should all do that. Top 3 for everyone. I actually agree with Jared, except I put C9 number 1, and then I put DK followed by Navi. Kubi?
If I'm going to change it, it would still be Cloud9 and DK. Maybe Dignitas edges out that third place spot.
Did you watch the EU finals?
They looked...
Sure. That's why I said maybe. I'm
Navi.
probably inclined to agree with you guys.
Yeah.
But if there's going to be any discrepancy, it would probably be Dignitas bumping out that third place spot, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Cauthen?
I already threw it out there. I'm not backing off now. I think Cloud9 could win it. Playing just, I mean,
Top three. Though.
As someone who has to play against them, it's so hard to beat them now. We used to take games off them pretty regularly here and there. They were obviously a better team. It's so difficult to even take like a single game off them now. I think that they will get first, probably DK, and then where's okay? Whatever the team is that isn't Tempo Storm or Navi or the third place Chinese team whose name eludes me at the moment.
YL? Are you talking about YL?
I don't know.
That's the second
The
place.
first
Chinese.
That's the Chinese team, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, them. I don't know that much about them, but they're an Asian esports team, so they're probably good, right?
Is that how that works?
The insight. YL is probably the best team coming from China.
So yeah, you have my deep insight there for that number 3 spot.
All right. Artosis?
Obviously I think that DK is going to crush some face. It's got 4 StarCraft pros, including one of the most talented from early StarCraft 2 and a GSL champion. So, like, I'm sorry, guys. That's like, unbelievable. And they played so fucking sick against MVP Black. It was insane. Their timings and rotations are just, like, out of this world. Like, they're so good. I think that they're absolutely going to beat it. If a team were to challenge it, I don't even know which team I would choose. I mean, in shape, Tempo Storm looks fantastic. I thought Navi played really well, and I think they're going to go deep in the tournament, like definitely like a top 4, unless Tempo Storm really, really shows up. And I mean, my top 3 are basically like DK, Navi, Cloud9 probably. That's
Okay.
That's kind of where I'm at.
The one thing that I'm just an overarching thought, excited for is things that we saw in the Europe champs, like, I've talked about this 1,000 times, the Mighty Gust Lambda Slaughter thing that Navi busted out. That combo of heroics, more pocket strats being busted out at this stage, I think is going to catch teams off guard, and I hope we see a lot of it. I think there's still, like, we saw Complexity running the all-shell burn build on Asmodan as anti-Illidan style, right? So there's a lot of cool counter pocket strats that we could see busted out, and that's what I'm most excited for. And if there's a way to beat Korea, I think that's the answer.
But I felt like Koreans were ahead on the meta since, like, Shenzhen or so. I don't know if you guys agree with that. Maybe some salty nerds or something. But, like, if anyone's going to bring stuff that the other ones haven't seen, I feel like it will be the Asian teams.
Okay.
Like, because it's harder to catch their VODs. It's harder to figure out what they're doing and how they're practicing. The language barrier as well as the VOD barrier is there. And, yeah, so I'm kind of... like, I feel like it might happen because, like, obviously at MSI, like, if you watch the draft, like, Tempo versus MVP Black, you're like, oh god, you just, like, I'm sorry, Zoya, but like, you just totally destroyed in the draft phase, right? And I could see something like that happen where you guys are like, wait, what the hell is what is DK doing here? This doesn't make sense. What are they? And then they just crush because they figured something out. I feel like they're the ones most likely, them and the Chinese teams, to do something like that.
All right,
There's
boys.
no hope.
No.
Sorry, guys. Sorry. Reality, Korea. Good pro gamers.
There is always hope. America can reign
Just cover
supreme.
the entire screen. No, that's good.
All right, guys. Let's move into our shout-outs. And once again, before we go into the shout-outs, next Wednesday there will not be a town hall, but there is a chance that there will be a town hall next week. Just follow all of us on Twitter for details regarding that. Jared, take it away.
Yeah, you can follow me at TempoZoya on Twitter, as well as check out our awesome website, tempostorm.com. We've actually been out producing our Hearthstone section on content. We have multiple articles written almost every day.
Do you have this written down? This is the same plug each week.
Yeah, almost.
Dude, Dreadnought
Almost.
articles are the best. I fucking love Dreadnought and his articles, and he's so
He
smart.
is insane. He I'll be like, hey Dreadnought, can you write a guide on this week? And he's like, fine. And he literally will take 7 days to just put everything he can.
Wow.
Like other players will just be like, yeah, I'll write you a guide on Tychus. It's done by the end of the night. Dreadnought puts so much work into his
Oh
guides,
yeah,
and it shows.
I just want to lick his brain, man. The shit that I've learned reading his guides. Oh.
Yeah, he's great. You can just check out the website and all our sponsors: Twitch, Namecheap, G2A, and Funk. Today got a little dark and heavy, but we're trying, guys. We're trying to fight through it, and please cheer us on. I know everyone, after getting knocked out by Team Blaze, people are really worried about Tempo Storm and what the hell's going on. But we are doing everything we can, and we're going to show up. We're going to hopefully show up, right, and give you guys the games that NA deserves. So please cheer us on. We play in a week, like Jake said. We travel this Saturday, so there will be a halt in the professional players' content as well as our streamings for 2 weeks. We're out there for a very long time. Please cheer us on at BlizzCon, guys, because if you're a Tempo Storm fan, it'll help. Just
Can they buy Tempo jerseys and rock them at BlizzCon?
No, not yet.
Damn, get bodied, dead team. Kubi.
That one's
All right, let's see. Follow me at the Kubi on Twitter. Since this will be our last show, at least scheduled until BlizzCon, of course I will be there. So come up, say hi to us, talk to us. Maybe we can work out some. Well, we're gonna have some kind of meetup at the very least. So some more details on that coming out over the coming weeks. This is it's a difficult shout outs to do just because my coming weeks are very occupied by something. I don't know what exactly, but I'll just leave it at that. I'll just say that.
CauthonLuck.
You guys can follow me on Twitter at CauthonLuck. You can follow my team at Murloc Geniuses. Be on the lookout for our new logo. We'll probably throw it up on Reddit when that gets ready. We're going to be rocking the jerseys with the new logo at BlizzCon. We have at least a couple of the Murlocs going to BlizzCon. I may be there as well. My work will probably have an aneurysm if I ask for any more time off, but I'm probably going to do it anyway, so we'll see. Yeah, shout out to my team for being pretty chill nerds. And shout out to CauthonLuck for calling me Hitler in chat for saying I believed in the Chinese team.
All right.
And also thank you so much to our fans who supported us with our GoFundMe, because that was amazing how quickly the community got behind us to send us to an event that should have already taken place but is now taking place in January. But we are definitely thankful for that, and we will try to show up and do everybody that supported us proud at that event in January.
All right, Artosis.
All right, thanks for having me, guys. This was a blast, and hope to be on again sometime. I'm going to be doing a lot of Heroes shit next year, so definitely look out for that. And follow me on Twitter. It's at Artosis, and I just started streaming again, twitch.tv/Artosis, so go give that a follow and stuff like that.
Awesome. Well, guys, thanks so much for coming on. Like we mentioned, just going to say it once again, we do not know the status of Town Hall for the next couple of weeks. We will keep you updated. So be sure to follow the official Town Hall Heroes Twitter at Town Hall Heroes and follow all of us here on the show. They're all on the screen. Pretty easy peasy. Boo, boo, boo. Bloodlust is a great ability, and gotta get that in there. Hopefully more people will use it now that Medic's been buffed, right? That makes sense. Anyways, we'll see you guys very soon. Keep your eyes peeled to Reddit and Twitter for some upcoming announcements. And until next time, we'll see you later.